Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Today, I wanted to do a short answer the call. I have a few things to do this afternoon, so I apologize. I know you guys have really been enjoying the longer ones lately, and we've had some really good topics. The last two shows have been great. This one is going to be a little bit shorter and a little bit more kind of nailed into one topic, and it's your thoughts on CIG's new roadmap update. So they came out with a post and showed sort of what the update would be and what it was going to be like and how they were going to change our current roadmaps for both the PU and Squadron 42 and how they were going to start communicating with us with that stuff. And for me, I'm somewhere in between satisfied and unsatisfied with the roadmap. I think the format of this roadmap is very much along the lines of a sprint report, which is something that I think really did great for ISC. But I also think they're going to run into the problems of when things do move, the roadmap does not communicate the movement very well. Roadmap Roundup didn't communicate the movement very well. Why? I think because the best form of their communication currently is through video and through their voices and showing things and talking to people. And I think one of the best Star Citizen lives they ever did was when object container streaming was removed from the roadmap before 3.4, I believe it was. And Jared and Xylo came on that Star Citizen Live and explained exactly why things were moving. And they made it very clear. They allowed the community to ask questions. So what is the best thing about open development, right? I don't think it's the fact that they open their doors and show us how game development works. I think it's the back and forth. And what's really great about SCL and even like some of the AMAs and things like that is that there's a back and forth. And for me, the roadmaps and the Inside Star Citizens and other content that isn't directly engaging with the community is never going to really be up to par because there's always a follow-up question to ask about something that's going on. But without further ado, we only have two callers on the docket for right now. I assume as we get conversing a little bit, we might get one or two more. But again, this show was meant to be a little bit shorter this week, and I just want to hear what some of you, the members of the community, think about this recent update. As in, I'm generally positive about it. I think it was I think it's a semi-home run in the sense of it doesn't pull on your emotions as much of this is going to be in 3.11. I can't wait for 3.11. Instead, it's this is what we're working on right now. And hopefully there's a little bit of communicating as to why they're working on those things. Right? So we'll have to see. But anyway, let's bring in Eradicator and our first caller, Eradicator, and see what he has to say and what he thinks. It's not always what I think. Good morning, Eradicator. How you doing? Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well.
Glad to be. It's really an honor. I've been watching your show and your channel for a very long time.
Yeah, man. I've watched your stuff too. I appreciate it. But what do you think about this?
The roadmap, like the new roadmap.
Well, yeah, like we can even start with like. This is their first line of communication after the debacle that was that post on Reddit. Or that post on Spectrum. And other than their random weird updates that they've done via video. I mean, we can start there.
So we can start with the roadmap post, and especially that which just basically what we don't know so much actually. They just gave us the usual PR, when they say, "Oh, we're gonna do that," but they don't go further into details. And we have this picture, which is kind of a mock-up of what is going to come out in the future. But again, we can see project, games, disciplines, animation, how many people work on it. Okay, that's cool. But we don't even know if it's going to be the final product. I'm talking a product or whatever, the final result of the roadmap. And then I think, as far as I'm concerned, I kind of like the current format of the roadmap
Okay.
with the different quarters, what is scheduled for each for each of the different patches. But what I'm not satisfied with, and this is where I wish that they had expanded a little bit more on, is what exactly are the tasks. Let's say, for example, we've got the Mercury Star now. We're at 45 or 55 tasks out of 115, just for whatever, right? I want to know what those tasks exactly are. I want to know how far completed those tasks are. I want to know, yeah, we can see that in that future roadmap, how many people are working on it. That's great, but I still want to know. I want to have all the details. Also, I want to know what's going on with, for example, what are what is the schedule for an eventual release of Squadron 42, for example, or at least a beta. Is this going to be in the roadmap? I don't think that we know that, Mike.
Yeah, from what I can tell is, okay, we have the sprint view and we have the release view. It looks here. I'll actually show it on the
the
screen.
release view, yeah.
Here, I'll show it on the screen here. So we see the sprint view and the release view in the top left. So I think release view is basically what we had before. I wonder if that would answer your tasks problem. I think personally you might be asking for a bit much as far as like what exactly those tasks are. You know, what is it going to take to complete them and so on.
Yeah, but if you want to go in open development, why not going all the way, right? Because that we have been promised since the beginning that we, the backers, will be treated in the same way as a game publisher will be treated, but it hasn't been the case
because it doesn't work. Do you think? Well, what about it? I mean, I guess we're going to get sort of off topic, but not really. It's because it doesn't work. What about doing this brings any sort of positivity to the project? What about doing this makes anything better? In your opinion? For me, I think it's a lose-lose in every situation for them at this point. As far as open development goes, they can show their marketing material, which is what they've been showing for many years now, about, oh, look at the pretty thing. This is something we can market. And that's what they claim as open development in a lot of situations, right? Where this attempt for the roadmap is, I think, as close to open development as you can get without opening the doors completely of what's going on and not actually having to hire. Like, what you're asking for is having to hire multiple people to do a roadmap to be open development. That's a loss, in my opinion, right? Like, who would have to update this stuff?
You're right. We don't want to be spending that money for
something like that,
for a roadmap,
right? So now you're spending money being open, when in reality, it doesn't benefit anybody. What I'm trying to get at is that doesn't bring in any new players. That doesn't excite any new players. That keeps you and me at ease that the project is still going. You know what I mean?
But I think
that's what it really does.
But I think you're onto something when you say that eventually they put themselves in a lose-lose situation. That's true. But
that's what we're in now. It's a lose-lose now.
But when you are in a lose-lose situation, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop and do nothing? Obviously, that's even worse, right? So they still need to keep, I would say, a certain direction. And that's why I was thinking that the current roadmap is presenting some good things that need to be expanded on. Now, the fact that we have actually something that is completely different. I mean, why not, right? I'm more in the wait and see situation. But from what I'm seeing from the post that we had and that one picture of the sprint view and the release view, I think that this doesn't give you much information about what the roadmap is going to be in the future. It's just a picture and just a bunch of paragraphs of PR paragraphs. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, especially the more transparency paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the ones that kind of gets me is one key point that we want to emphasize on the new public roadmap is the progress tracker. And they're saying, basically why they want to do that is because on the one above it is they said limitations were they can't share what happens to things when it's removed from the roadmap. So, I mean, I think that's what their attempt here is that they see we get upset when they remove something from the roadmap, and because we immediately think it's not being worked on, right? So this viewpoint enables us to see what's being worked on, regardless of where it's going to end on the roadmap. Like, this sprint will end today. Now, the issue is when that sprint ends, does that mean that the feature that they're working on ends? And I think that's where this roadmap breaks, is your general person has no idea what a fucking sprint is. I don't know what a sprint is. You know, like I know what it is now, but I didn't know what it is until I had to ask. You know?
Now the one thing that this new roadmap is going to fix, I hope, is, for example, when we look at the current roadmap, and this is something that, I don't know, I guess I have a fixation on that, but when I look at the AI for Star Citizen 3.11, we can see that both of the items there are scheduled.
Yeah.
See, I don't think we even know how many tasks there are, right? It's just scheduled.
Yep.
And this worries me, especially today. It's like August 23rd. In theory, we should be already in Evocati phase in like maybe by the end of the month or in about 2 weeks. And
yeah, it's usually the beginning of the month before.
Yeah, right. So it's, I mean, 3.11 Evocati and then PTU is going to happen soon, theoretically, if they stick to schedule. We don't even know if they are going to start late, if 3.11 is going to be a month and a week late, just like 3.10 was. Hopefully not. And the fact that we still have those items, I mean, AI is very important.
Well,
I think that's
the problem with the current roadmap too, is they don't update it.
Yeah,
like
right.
I bet that stuff isn't scheduled. They didn't even do a roadmap roundup this week. And then the top post in that post on I think it was on Spectrum or under it, was somebody who actually wrote down what happened this week from the tasks being completed. Like they're doing the bare minimum as far as the current roadmap because they know they're going to change it, right? This is the same way their development's gone for 8 years now. Is if they're going to change something that's currently there, they just ignore the fact that it even exists, and then we're working on the new one, so they don't take any time to update the old one.
That's not an excuse because people still want to know what's going on, and on top of that, they're showing us stuff. You know, on for example, I was going to say ATV on ISC, they're showing us, you know, the 100i, the Mercury, which look absolutely phenomenal. But like, just 55 tasks completed. What does that mean? It looks pretty much completed in the ISC, even though obviously it's probably not, right? But still, as you said, you know, it would be great if they could give us, you know, in the roadmap, hey, this week we've completed an extra 10 tasks, and we've completed the gray box phase or some of the new weapons for the particular turret or whatever, right? But they don't say that. They say, sure, there are no notable changes.
Sure, I think for ships it's much easier to do, but I don't think it's like apply that same example to server meshing.
Oh, yeah, well.
Right, you can't do that. So that's where it breaks. Like for ships, it's easy. It's art, you know, the stages of art, and then, we have to do the damage states now, right? Like you can actually block out and say, well, the damage states are being worked on, and you know, that's how long this sprint is, and needs to be done, the landing gear or whatever, right? I think it's a lot easier to do with ships, but then apply it to any other part of the project, and it kind of falls apart then, right? Because you can't explain. It's not easy to explain and understand.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's true that it's not easy to explain and understand. But I think that it's also important. I mean, I don't like it when things are being dubbed down so that as many people can understand that, because I think that when they're dubbing things down, we're also losing some of the, I wouldn't say the value, but we're losing some of the information that they originally they wanted to trust. I feel like there are some restrictions, you know, when things are being done down. I think it's okay when things are a little bit complicated, because it's also part of the process. It's also why I signed up to this project. It's not just about the game, it's also the experience of somehow, as a backer, being exposed to the game development and also
Sure.
learning all of the different processes. I personally really enjoyed when I'm being overwhelmed by so many terms that I don't understand. Plus, I'm not a native English speaker, so that's all the way more difficult.
Sure.
But these are things that I personally really enjoy. Learning about things that I had no idea. Oh wow, so it's more complicated because I need to do that. That's totally, as far as I'm concerned, that's totally fine.
Yes. Now, I understand where you're coming from for that, but I think that there's a better solution for something like that. And hear me out, because I think it might, I don't want to say the word upset you, but I don't know. So it does need to be, things need to be dumbed down, because most people buy this game because it looks pretty and it has a lot of potential, right? Those two things. It has potential to be a really great game and it looks really awesome. So this thing might be awesome. I'm going to buy this game. Now I need to go to their website, which, isn't starcitizen.com. It's like, let's start with that. And then I have to navigate through all these stupid things to figure out what's even going on. Their YouTube channel does no explaining of the current state of Star Citizen ever. Right?
Well, that's good for us, Mike.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's good for us because we're able to do it. But, in reality, that's something they should be doing. And then,
yeah, absolutely.
And then all this other stuff is showing where it's going in the future, in the near future and the distant future. And the problem with what you're saying is, like, I want to find out about the game development. I want those things. You are not a small section of the community. I think a lot of people want to know those things. What is your subscription for? When you subscribe to Star Citizen, what is that money supposed to go to? To like community updates and stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's right. Sure. I want them to make more videos.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
content.
And I think they should. And I think that there should be a subscriber-only video of some sort, like in the subscriber section of Spectrum, that has video content related to how game development actually works. Let me dive down into the nitty-gritty, and we'll do this extra stuff, but you got to pay for it. Because the money that we're going to take is to explain to everybody what's going on. I think they need to do a better job of what is the current state of the game, instead of just saying, well, first off, they say it's a live release, a live product, and then they say it's an alpha, and then they say it's still in development, and it's a testing environment. Like, it's 400 different things all at once, and yeah, it's just a matter of communicating to the right audience, and all too often I think they're communicating to the Reddit audience, the Spectrum audience, and the more engaged part of the community that we're already in. We've already spent thousands of dollars on ships, hundreds of dollars on ships, right? Like, the average backer pays over $100, I think, for their game. Yeah, the average is above that. So the people that are currently actively paying attention now, this stuff doesn't do anything for us. And, seeing the sprint isn't necessarily what I want to know. I want to know, what I guess I do want to see the sprints. I want to know exactly what they're working on now. So for me, this roadmap is actually quite helpful for me, but I don't think it helps the player who's the Aurora backer, and honestly, I don't think it helps the player that the company is trying to acquire. Somebody who hasn't bought the game yet. The communication for somebody who hasn't bought the game is non-existent. It's horrible.
No, it's funny that you mentioned the subscriber-only content, because originally that's what Jump Point was for.
Yeah,
and I don't know, because I've read I've been reading Jump Point for, I don't know, for years now. But when was the last time we actually had a Jump Point that actually really told us about, hey, that's what we are developing, for future iterations of the game. This is what's going to
I think the last time was remember when they went through server meshing, or they went through the networking one, where they just explained all the steps? I thought that was a really good one.
that one.
That one.
But
how long has it been since that one?
Right? I don't even remember what it was, but
yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, they were also talking about. It's not just server meshing. I think that the SSOCS was not even there yet. I think that was even before SSOCS.
Yes, it was before SSOCS.
Because
we got SSOCS in 3.8, right?
Yeah. Because I remember having made a video about this. So that was even before SSOCS.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, it's okay to. I mean, if also subscribers need to have a feeling that what they're spending is worth their money when we are being promised that it's going to get into new content, then yeah, definitely we need to have more of that content. But yeah, it's not there. Oh well.
Yeah, sorry. I had internet issues earlier, so I explained to my wife that I was actually doing Answer the Call now. So she came home and was expecting to me still be on the phone. But
it's okay, Mike. It's okay. We saw the clip.
it was bad. It was bad. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But in general, what do you think the purpose of this what is the purpose of the roadmap? Is it for new players? Is it for existing players to keep them kind of at bay? What's the purpose of it for you? And then we'll start kind of cutting off the call a little bit because we actually are starting to get a little bit of a caller list.
It's fine. I know you have another caller, and I also need to go back to work, so I'll have to be quick. So no worries. I think that the roadmap, or especially when it also included Squadron 42, was to, I think, placate backers, like, because we've always had this issue with CIG not communicating enough.
Yeah,
it's always been like it's always been like that. I think that the roadmap first came when we had 3.0, right? Around that period.
Yeah, so I think it was 3.1. But
yeah, around that period. And before that, we had this very long drought. When we had 2.6, where I think it was a year and a half without any major patch. Something like that. So and it got a lot of people really worried. It got it got people on the internet speaking, trash talking the game, saying it was a scam, and I think that the roadmap gave some kind of vision. I would say not long-term vision, but short-term vision of what would eventually happen in the present. And I think that it worked when we were, even though things that were supposed to be happening a year in advance got pushed and canceled. We have many examples, but at least it renewed the face. Say, hey, I'm going to stick around because in 6 months, in 1 year, we're going to have that. Now, of course, people have seen that these features coming that were planned to come a year later were eventually not coming. So I think that's also another reason why that format ended up not working, and why we haven't had
it was a wish list.
Q1 or Q2. Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a roadmap. Yeah, and neither is this.
That's the point. Yeah,
roads have an end.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but again, I want to. I mean, given the fact that we've only been given that one picture, I still want to kind of give them the benefit of a doubt and say, hey, we it's a bit maybe too early to judge because we haven't seen the final release. But yeah, I'm kind of on that fence as well. Thinking, what if it's just another iteration of this PR stunt that was the old roadmap? Maybe what if it's just a new reincarnation of that roadmap?
Yeah.
Could be, maybe not.
Yeah, I think my biggest. Mike, yeah, go ahead, go to work, and I'll let you go here.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Mike. It was a pleasure. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, so thank you so much for.
I'm glad you made it,
and maybe we can do it another day. Have a great day. Cheers.
You too. If you guys don't know Eradicator does make YouTube videos. I believe he streams on Twitch as well. So guys, make sure you check him out if you haven't yet. All right, now before I get to the next caller, I think that's like the next thing that I really want to express is that roads lead somewhere. And nothing about what I see in this leads anywhere, right? So you have the player interaction experience, and there's animation, UI, external inventory. You have these things, and the sprints end but there's no real ending to that experience. Like, what I'd love to see for a roadmap is see salvage, but not have any time or date, but to see what needs to be done to lead up to it, right? Like, we had a calling all devs that question gets asked specifically. Yeah, what's left to make salvage happen? And then they go through and they say, well, we need physicalized inventories and we need these things. And then you could see salvage there, and you could see that physicalized inventories is a certain color or something, right? Or physical inventories, right? And you could see that physical inventory, that thing is a color, and it's a sprint. And it's on there, and that sprint is being done, right? So like you could figure out like what the major pillars are, and see that you know, this tech is working for this and this thing, and it's taking this long. Like, it might be really complicated, but for me, it's just one of those things that I want to see more from them. And yeah, for sure. But all right, let's bring in our next caller. His name is Amadeus. Hey, Amadeus, what's up, man? I got to update you on the little thing here, but how you doing? What did you think so far about the roadmap? Yeah, and what do you think about, more importantly, what do you think about anything else that we discussed if we missed anything?
I'm not sure whether you missed it. Well, you definitely missed it, because you still owe us a roadmap as well.
What do I owe
Which
you a
is the
roadmap for?
You owe us the roadmap to song requests.
Yeah, we can't do song requests on Twitch anymore, and I can't even have the nice little pretty background music on YouTube anymore because somebody else stole it, uploaded it on their own YouTube channel, and then copy striked me with it.
Wow, that's nasty.
Yeah. So.
But look at, even the big ticket streamers are bringing song requests back. So look at chat. Look at them. They just want a Schubert walk, but you're making them sad honks instead.
Yes. Nobody
That's
on YouTube
completely
has any
unacceptable.
idea what you're talking about, just so you know.
That's okay. That's okay. But yeah, to get to the actual topic, I'm not sure. I didn't listen particularly to the last caller, so I'm not sure how much stuff you missed. But I would like to talk about the roadmap mock-up that we got.
Okay.
Because I think the first and obvious point of discussion should be that this has not been in the works for like a year.
Uh-huh.
Like, nobody can tell me this has been in the works for a year.
No, it's been... Okay, do you remember when Xylo and Brian Chambers were on camera together, and Xylo starts sharing what he's gonna do, and Brian Chambers goes, what? Do you remember that?
Oh, I actually don't remember that.
Okay, so Xylo, it's on the Squadron 40. It was on the Squadron 42 calling all devs. It was Brian Chambers. They met with a bunch of people, but it started out with Brian Chambers, and then Xylo popped into the call, and they were with Lando. And Xylo starts explaining what their plans are in the future, and Brian Chambers kind of was like confused. This was like a couple months ago, yeah, and he was like, "Oh, really? That's what we're doing?" So I don't think any of this stuff was there, and then he said it, then we expected it, then he said another thing, and it just blew up into this mess that it didn't need to become. And like, you know, mistakes happen, and I think that this is a good start to fixing that problem, but I don't think it's the final solution.
Yeah, it's probably true. But I think it probably started like 3 weeks back or something when they made the actual post about the roadmap for the roadmap for the roadmap.
Sure.
But doesn't really matter. But I think like one of the main issues with CRG is always been communication. And I feel like when we say that, they understand that they need to communicate more and not better, which is essentially what people are complaining about. And that is the same thing that they do with transparency. They just complete info dump you with minute details, as they do with that mock-up on the roadmap. But it kind of only serves to obfuscate the actual things that you're interested in, namely, when is this going to be a minimal viable product, for example?
Sure. When is Squadron 42 going to be
really
released?
Hard to see.
You can't.
Yeah, and you made a point about the roads. Sort of a roadmap needs to be a road that you can see an end to, and it feels like we're like on the very bottom of a serpentine street up a hill, and we don't know how many serpentine curves there are even.
I don't even think
really
I don't even think there is a road here. It's not even a sidewalk, right? Like all I see, and I sort of like this and I don't, is what I see is the sprint report from ISC in visual form.
Yeah, the sprint reports from ISC are definite highlights in CIG's
We love
communication
those.
currently.
Yeah.
Because they are, I mean, the last one, for example, was just a lot of kind of useless stuff. Like, just more or less the thing that CIG always loses itself into. Like, just
environments.
Throwing and stuff like that. It just doesn't need to be so fancy in this stage of development, I feel.
Sure.
I mean, it needs to work, and it doesn't even do that. So why make it fancy first? It's kind of weird.
Agreed. I think it's important to make sure that it reads well so people who don't understand game development can understand it a little bit more. I think this is getting there, right? It shows, all right, this is used for Star Citizen. This is used for Squadron 42. This is how many people are working on it. That will be interesting to see.
Yeah, there are definitely some
that might
very positive things.
That might show us how many actual artists are working at the company versus designers versus programmers, right?
I mean, I don't really expect them to show us the team size that is working on those individual items on the map.
I mean, it's on there.
Like, I still don't know.
The thing is it's on there. Yeah, here, I'll bring it back up on the screen so people can see. It's actually on there.
Like, how many disciplines are there? Oh, you mean the little thing with the...
so it says the discipline, but then it also has a little person. It's like a little viewer count guy on Twitch is what it looks like.
Right there. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is
actually representative.
I don't know if I don't think it will be personally, but I thought that was very interesting to see there.
It is, yeah. I'm actually a big fan of the disciplines being on there. Because it also gives you a better impression how complicated the task is.
Yeah.
If there are a lot of interdisciplinary dependencies.
Sure.
And one thing that I'm glad that they left out and that I don't really want to see on a roadmap is R&D related stuff. Because I feel like it would just do us no good and it would do them no good.
You mean like for like the...
that they are just...
Sure, like for like the fire propagation stuff that we saw, or
exactly.
Or
they
those
that on the roadmap 2 years ago, and then didn't speak of it again anymore until I don't know, half a year from now.
Sure.
Then I think it would probably be counterproductive.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like that's why they never showed the caves until they knew they were going to put it in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really need to know about every minute thing that goes on in a company as far as R&D is concerned. I just want to know what is coming next and what is like the most important thing of a roadmap should be what are the dependencies to get it to the game that it wants to be. And I feel like it's still not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I started with before your call, right? Is those dependencies would be things like I don't know, server meshing or iCache and persistence, but then going even further into things like the different professions, right? Like you can even throw mining up there and say the whole thing in terms of where it is now versus where they might want to take it. Like, but you don't have to say what mining tier 1 is or mining tier 2 or mining tier 3 is necessarily, but you can have them on that roadmap and just what would be really nice is to see what their priorities are as well, right? Where mining would only have a Star Citizen. Yeah, like mining should only have a little Star Citizen symbol next to it, while Squadron 40 and not a Squadron 42 one. And then you can recognize right away, well, you know, Squadron 42 is obviously the priority, so why should they be adding more to mining when they can spend time doing tier 1 throw? Because tier 1 throw is definitely something you would use in both. You know, whether that's the actual choice or not, I don't know, but yeah.
The whole icons for the games, the indicators are a bit. It just feels like they plaster both games on every single thing that they're working on, so they can say that that is for SQ42 as well. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I mean, only in the examples that we've been given. Maybe the actual roadmap is going to look very different.
Yeah, it would be nice to see if they showed one that wasn't related to Squadron 42, you know?
That is true, yeah. Which we're likely going to get, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat hopeful that we get one or two.
You've been around the project for a while, though. I mean, at least you've been hanging out in my Twitch chat for some time. So I think you're understanding a little bit more about Star Citizen than, I don't know, somebody who would make a hate click video or somebody who would watch a hate click video and believe what they're saying, right? Because they don't actually know what's going on. This doesn't solve that problem. And I think that's the inherent problem, is explaining and sharing that Star Citizen's going beyond what any other game is willing to do in terms of the ambition that they have. And that obviously takes a lot of money, and that's why you see the 300 million and no game thing. And then I don't think this roadmap really helps explain somebody who is new or somebody who doesn't know about the project. I feel like the roadmap should be a very good understanding of where they are and what their plans are in the future, and I just don't think this does that. I think this is just sprint report in graph form, and I don't think that's what we need unless at the end of those sprints you see the end of the road.
I feel like CRG does a lot to cater to new backers, but the roadmaps are not one of those things. Like
yeah, when the roadmap should be, right?
Yeah, they're more... I mean, I'm not sure if they should be used as an advertisement tool more than they already are.
It 100% right now...
First of all.
It 100% right now is a marketing tool.
Yeah, it also seems like it's just a carrot on the stick for existing backers there, not like necessarily new backers.
Sure.
Though it starts failing a bit in that function because 3.11, 3.12, there's nothing really on there that would serve as a carrot. At least not to me. Maybe other people feel different about, I don't know, the Mercury or whatever it is.
No, this year I think is a bit of a down year, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we are saying that every year, to be honest.
Yeah,
maybe with the notable exception of OCS coming in and doubling FPS for a short while, which now it seems to be back in the dumpster anyway.
No, it's nowhere near what it was back then. But
I mean, it depends, because it obviously has a lot more stuff in it now as well, so it's kind of understandable.
It's just
the performance is still...
It's literally the wait for server meshing, and if server meshing isn't on this roadmap, then don't even release it.
Yeah, they did mention a core features card for like the team that is working on the core features, which I'm very interested in what will actually end up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that server meshing is on there, or at least like the preliminary tags that are required for it, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, if
like just iCache and the global persistence thing and all that kind of stuff, it needs to be on there, because if we don't see that even still, it's a little bit discouraging as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. I mean, let's take a look at it once more. You can see here.
I mean, they're definitely working on it. It would be dumb to assume that they are not working on server meshing, etc.
Of course they are, yeah.
And I would like to see how far it's along, what their estimations are, etc.
So what should be happening if this roadmap is truly open and is sharing what's going on? As you can see here, it says actor feature team. And then I guess I should just download it so we see the full thing. You could see actor feature team, and this is what that specific team is working on. All of these things during all of this time, right? Scanning, locomotion, all of this. Then you also see actor tech team, and then below that is something else. Weapons, I think it says weapon feature. Weapon feature team is the next thing. And yeah, so all the teams should be listed there. So whatever the team that works on like the network code stuff, that should be listed there as well, and we should see sprints related to server meshing.
Yeah, I also hope that it's something that is actually tied into something that the developers are actually using, and they don't have to submit and prepare it especially for this kind of marketing blip.
Yeah, it just really comes down to, for me, it just really comes down to, that there's no end on the roadmap. There's no start and there's no beginning. There's just the present. And obviously there's a time of where the sprint starts and ends, but what do those sprints lead up to? Is the beginning the player interaction experience? What does that mean? Cooperative locomotion, what does that mean? I think, they give the descriptions there. Player interaction experience is a holistic array of complementary features and systems, all related directly to the player. Status, it's just super vague, and that's the one that they chose to drop down. Is a little bit weird,
That's true. They probably could have done a better job choosing something that is a little bit simpler and more direct, like FPS radar scanning. Everyone probably would have understood it better there.
Yeah.
Their interaction experience is probably one of the harder ones to describe what it all encompasses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it really hurt the roadmap, right?
Probably, yeah. I'm curious how they are gonna actually translate this to something that is workable. But yeah, I feel like the roadmap has never really been that far-reaching, except for maybe, if you want to call it a roadmap, the thing that we got for the 2016 sitcom, where it was basically a disaster because it was promising you everything under the sun.
That was the first roadmap.
That year, or whatever it was.
That was the first roadmap. That was the first roadmap. Was the worst roadmap. That's for sure.
Yeah, we still don't have half the stuff that is on there.
No.
And it's also constant munition for anyone who is kind of trying to torpedo the project because it was just so dumb and so short-sighted in hindsight.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't really prevent that anymore. That cat is out of the bag.
It just, for me, and we talked about this with Eradicator a little bit too, is open development is just when it comes down to community happiness once you're here, you can't win. You're never going to make us happy because you're never going to share what we want to see because we want to know when it's over. And if they don't know when it's over, then they can't share it with us.
That's true. That's probably also the reason why the roadmaps are in basically for the rest of the year in the best case scenario. Because beyond that, they really don't know too explicitly, I suppose.
Yeah.
It feels like COG is just taking it one day at a time. And
yeah.
As long as the money is coming out, they are just going to keep doing that.
And then they react to positive and negative things. Like, I don't know, if a Rexilla comes around, all of a sudden Theaters of War becomes a priority. If
yeah, now he's gone for like a year already, and that thing is still not in our hands. So good luck.
Well, I don't know if this is exactly what happens, right? But then you see Terrata doing low flying, and now the biggest priority update to the flight model. The first thing they did was change the way the cameras work. And it's one of those things where I feel like they're just constantly. It feels like they're flying by the seat of their pants. That's what it feels like.
That's true. That's definitely true.
And it comes down to that's what they communicate, right?
And I feel that's also why Chris actually said that he needs to have a very, very good project manager because that's not one of his strengths.
Yeah.
He's just more of a salesman, and if you want to be kind, then he's also the visionary.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
that's more his forte.
All right.
But we will see where he takes us.
Sure.
I think that's about all that I have to say about the roadmap here.
Sure. Before I let you go, if you were to rate this update post Spectrum debacle that went on Reddit and ended up all over the internet, how would you rate this out of 10?
Oh, like the whole spectacle, or just the?
Nope. This is their first real response to it.
I mean, sort of. Yeah, it's basically not, or the first thing that we got after the roadmap to the roadmap thing.
Yeah.
I think this transmission in particular, I'm just gonna limit it to this transmission, is alright. I would rate it like 5 out of 10. Because I like where they are going with the roadmap potentially. It's kind of hard to judge it without seeing like the holistic thing about it. Or like the whole thing at least.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of hitting into the same wound about they just dump you full of text and there's barely anything in there that's interesting or worth reading. It's just so much, but also saying so little.
Nothing solves the actual problem of when salvage, when this ship, when server
Which
meshing.
is understandable. They don't know, so we don't know.
Exactly.
I feel like that is kind of.
So they're doing their
But
best.
It's also one of those things that are kind of very infuriating.
Yeah, of course, it's infuriating. I'm
they
assuming
should
for
know.
them as well, right?
Yeah,
I think they're
definitely.
doing their
It's not
best.
a bad situation for them.
Sure, and yeah, I think they're doing their best. I think the biggest problem with it is I think that they should have things like server meshing and maybe certain other ships or gameplay loops
To be on there. Like, it just
should
needs to
be. Yeah, I don't think it should be based on what each team is doing. I think it's what are these goals, and like let's lay out some goals, and then what teams are working on them, and then you can use this format. I just think those goals need to be involved.
I'm not sure if you saw that, but there was this fan-made thing on Spectrum where someone made dependencies for tech roadmap, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like that on the official roadmap would do wonders.
Sure.
Just as far as it goes in understanding what is required for this to take the next step.
Absolutely.
And also a bit of a realistic expectation management of what all the steps are going to do for us. Because server meshing is already the next Jesus tech, and we all know that it's likely going to be introducing more issues and more bugs than it fixes.
Initially, at least, of course, yeah.
Yeah, like SSOCS didn't really do... I mean, I guess people say that it did what it did because they could add more content. But it was hyped up a lot, and not only by CRG, as people like to say. Not only by the community. It was definitely hyped up by CRG as well. I remember Luke being in chat and telling us how awesome it's going to be.
Yeah. The thing is it is awesome. It doesn't work without meshing.
I mean, I'm not sure if that is the truth.
Of course, that's the truth.
It's gonna help.
If you're at Hurston and I'm at ArcCorp and somebody's around Crusader and another one's at Microtech, then server meshing or then SSOCS has no effect because all of that stuff is still being communicated to the server. Yeah. So the second that the server meshing can break those into separate things, based on performance, whatever it'll be based on, that's when it actually works. It was always just a prerequisite for meshing. But yeah, I mean,
I hope server meshing is going to do all of those things because I'm frankly not qualified to make any judgment passes on this. I hope it's going to be amazing for the game and it's going to make performance so much better.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I'll believe it when I actually have it in my hands and see how to improve things.
I agree. But all right, Amadeus, we'll let you go. Thanks for your call today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
have a good one.
You too, man. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, and our next caller is Talon. Talon, welcome to the show. How you doing? It's been a while.
Hey, sorry, is my voice alright, Chap? Yeah?
Yeah, you're good. It was cutting in and out a little bit, but it sounds okay. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, everything sounds good.
Okay, yeah, now we're good. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
All right, so what do you think about this whole thing?
Okay, I've been a backer of Star Citizen since 2013, so I've been around for a while.
Yeah.
I've been around long enough to become extremely salty on the game.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really stream it or play it much anymore, right? At all?
No, I don't stream it at all anymore because it's not worth streaming.
Yeah.
Unless you want to gather some screenshots, then it's a pretty good.
It's great.
But more than that, it's just honestly, all the mad props to you that you are actually able to play this every day.
Well,
I couldn't do it.
I've explained it to people a lot, right? Because when I do play it, I do, quite complain about the issues that I'm dealing with and so on and so forth. And then you'll occasionally get well, why do you play it? Well, I play it because people seem to come around the channel when I play it because we talk about it. I'm not actually playing the game. There isn't really much of a game to play yet. And, there's loops that sort of exist, but not really. And, yeah, I mean, I stream the game because I like conversing about the game, right? That's why this podcast exists. And every day is a podcast for me is basically what it ends up being. It's just sometimes I have people come in Discord and sometimes I have people that I talk to in chat. Just that's the only difference. There just happens to be a game in the
and that's
background in one of them. That's all.
And that's why I hang around in your channel as well.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk about it. It's not very fun to play it right now. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about this roadmap thing? Obviously, we had the debacle early on, and then this was their approach to trying to resolve it. And what do you think about this approach, and how do you feel about it?
Okay, the first thing about this roadmap, when I saw it, I usually, when I have lunch, I go through Reddit and stuff like that, just like my Reddit front page. And yes, I'm still a subscriber to the Star Citizen Reddit subreddit. And I see this roadmap, so I have a look. And of course, everybody's cheering. What a great move by CRG. It's awesome. It's going to solve all the problems. What a way to go. And I'm thinking, how delusional are these people that they actually still believe this stuff? How many roadmap updates and stuff like that have they released, and how many times has it failed? Every single time. I give this one maybe 6 months before they go back to the old way of doing things.
What do you
In
feel
other words,
its
not
flaw
doing
is?
anything at all.
Sure, what do you feel its flaw is? What will cause it to fail?
Okay, essentially the very first roadmap was they were talking about connecting it directly to the JIRA. So what you see in the roadmap is part of the actual project development.
Which was bullshit.
Which is absolute bullshit. I mean, it became very apparent that that was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And how's this going to be any different? It's a marketing tool. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And you said it earlier. It's a pure marketing tool.
I feel like it was before. I feel like this one's a bit less, though. But continue. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's again, I can't believe that a leopard doesn't change its spots. CRG will not change on this thing. They will continue to put stuff out that is marketing and not stuff that is actually for the backer. And I'll give you an example of how roadmaps are used as a marketing tool.
Okay.
If you remember a while back with Epic, and they started doing the exclusives, and everybody got onto them is, your store doesn't have this, your store doesn't have that.
Sure.
It's so far behind Steam. It's, and what did Epic do? They released a roadmap of all the things that they're going to bring, all the new features that are coming into the Epic store, carts and reviews and all this stuff. And after 6 months, nothing was done. So they just removed the roadmaps.
Oh, they don't even
Epic
have it
still
anymore?
don't have a shopping cart. No, they removed it completely because they weren't. It was bullshit.
Because it did worse. It did more negative than it did positive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. People kept calling them on. You said, "Where's this at? Where's that at? Where's my shopping cart? Where's the reviews? Where's this?"
It really comes down to, if this roadmap is going to share some sort of bad news, because I think you and I think you know much better than I do, is that game development is a little bit different than what I expected it when I first backed this project, and it's obviously a little bit more difficult than I thought, and estimating timelines is apparently one of the more difficult things. So when they screw up or something bad happens and they have to delay a thing, how do they communicate that on this roadmap? I think from what I can see is all it shows is sprints, but it doesn't show. It's a good way of not showing, whoops, welp, that didn't work out. And that's kind of the vibe that I get from this one.
Well, look, I mean, my background is I've been a corporate developer for over 25 years.
Yeah.
A lot of database stuff and things like that.
Okay.
And estimating how long things are going to take is hard.
Sure.
no different than game development. And you give your best estimates, and some things that you expect to take 3 weeks, you get finished in a couple of days. Other things that you expect to take a couple of days can drag on to like 2 months sometimes, if you, as you more you uncover about it. So it is really, really hard to estimate this stuff. And somebody actually mentioned that, in the chat, I saw somebody talking about that the Epic has now got it on a Trello board. And that was another point I was going to bring up about, instead of wasting their time with new roadmaps, why don't they use things that are out there like Trello?
Because it doesn't look pretty, Talon. It doesn't look pretty.
Yeah,
it's not Star Citizen enough.
Yeah, it's that's probably true. They spend more time making things pretty than actually developing anything. And that's actually one of my big issues with the game as well. Is I want to play the game. I don't want to take screenshots.
Yeah.
But it's really what we need, aside, the whole roadmap thing, what we actually need is we need a list of major tasks, and then each one can be divided into the subtasks under that, and then we can see how far they are on these major tasks. It's similar to what you said earlier, where you've you need a goal, and how close are they to the goal? What tasks are part of the goal? How you need to get there? That is,
and it can't be short-term goals.
That would communicate things.
It can't be short-term goals.
Long-term goals.
Yeah, we need both.
But as you said, you need a road to release, not just a random roadmap that goes nowhere.
Yeah, I agree. We need short and long-term goals to explain where we've come from, where we're going, and where we are now. I think that's what a roadmap. That's the point of it, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Is in some way, even this new one is still marketing, because it helps prevent something got moved off the roadmap. We didn't think it was going to end at that time. From what they've shared with us so far, I'm not really seeing a whole lot in terms of how they're going to communicate that. So one key point that we want to emphasize with this new public roadmap is that it is a progress tracker. We're showing you what our teams are working on right now and what sprints look like in the weeks, months, and quarters ahead. It's not a promise. With agile development, all of that's subject to change. Sometimes we develop things and iterate and see the results of a sprint. We need to go back and rework code design. We say that in the current roadmap, but we need to reiterate again. For the new public roadmap, the progress tracker will be fluid. It's not a promise for what we will work on. It's our best estimate at the time we make it, based on the information we have at hand. It also indicates our strategic intentions, priorities, which themselves are also subject to change. So it just leaves so many open doors, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at it's also the style of development which they are using. Basically agile. Now,
everybody when I say agile development, it's not like chat tends to laugh, and I don't really know why. I guess some people think agile development works and some people don't. I don't know. So
as a developer working with a bunch of methodologies of building projects and stuff like that, agile is used when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Oops, didn't mean to swear.
It's okay.
But when you don't know what you're doing, you use agile because you've got no goal where you're going to. You're just doing things, little things at a time. There's no structure to the development.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we had, in the companies we had some groups that used agile, some groups that used proper planning and stuff like that. And without doubt, it was always the agile development guys that were behind. They didn't have anything, close to where we wanted to go, because it was there was no structure to there was no proper structure to the development. And so they couldn't actually, they couldn't, like that roadmap, they couldn't keep to the road. They went off on little side routes. Oh, look, there's a little butterfly. Let's go chase that. Oh, look, there's a deer. Let's go chase that. Quick, stop off at Mickey D's and have some strawberry shakes. But never were they actually on the road to where they wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so, so every time I hear the agile, it's no wonder they're not actually achieving anything. They're not, well, yes, they are achieving stuff, but not kind of an end of the line to the project.
Yeah. And that's why they're unable to share it, is because of the type of development that they do, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and, it's, and Chris Roberts is definitely not a good manager. He's a great developer, and some of his games have been absolutely awesome. But if Microsoft didn't kick him out of Digital Anvil back in the day, we would still be waiting for Freelancer. That was my biggest fear, is that would happen again. And, that was offset by his brother Aaron, which can actually develop finished games.
But Aaron's here, so what's the argument now?
Yeah, that's what I said. That allayed my fears.
And in reality, Aaron coming on camera has been more detrimental than even Chris at this point. Because Aaron's come on camera and said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have quality of life improvements, and you're gonna have these things." Like this year was supposed to be a pretty big year in terms of that, and we've gotten some of it, but it didn't feel the way he expressed it. So yeah.
Yeah, and you see, look at I was hoping that Aaron would counter Chris, but it appears it hasn't had that effect.
I think it has. Personally, I think it has. I think it's just this what if the estimate for server meshing is one of those things that was a little bit hard to estimate, and it comes down, like I can't hammer, I say it every week, is that we have to wait for server meshing. And what if that was one of those things, like you said, and even the projects that you've done, sometimes things are hard to estimate, and maybe that one was the most difficult thing to do, and they really shouldn't and can't do anything until that's in, because you don't even have a framework of a game until your servers act the way they're supposed to, I guess.
But this is the thing. When you're working on a big project, the number one thing you want to do is get your foundation down.
Well, and they definitely didn't focus on that, but we're somewhat getting off topic and going back to 2016 and not really talking about the present.
It's true.
Right?
And
I think at the present they have their priorities sort of in order nowadays, where they're going, well, we're not going to make missions because it doesn't make any sense because we need to wait for server meshing, or the Planet Tech is essentially where we want it to be. We're not going to make Planet Tech V5. We will add things to Planet Tech V4, but we're not going to do any massive overhauls like we did in the past, right? So I feel like they do have their priorities way more in check now than they did before. I still think marketing has too much of a play in what goes on, though.
Yeah, it's taken them quite a number of years to get to that stage.
Sure.
But yeah, they are working on the tech, but there's still I just feel there's still a lot of foundation that they should really be way more focused on that.
Okay, but how does that relate to the roadmap?
The roadmap is kind of one of the things where they, like I said, you're going to see on the roadmap, you're going to see stuff that is sort of I don't want to say user-based, but sales-based.
Yeah.
More than the actual core tech that it really needs.
Yeah.
Because the core tech is boring as hell.
Sure.
It's like the hard it's like the hard getting your network packets down to the right size and things like that. That really nitty gritty, shaving off 3 or 4 milliseconds here, 3 or 4 milliseconds there. It's that hardcore stuff that is that you really need people on the ball to do that, but it doesn't translate to anything good on the sales side.
Yeah.
So I doubt you're going to see a lot of detail in that.
Yeah,
and I think roadmap.
I think that's what people unfortunately don't understand about the project, and also, is the worst thing in my opinion about the project is they definitely have to make decisions on priorities based off of continuing the funding of the project so they can keep doing it, and then that delays the project more and more and more and more. And what I'd like to see from this roadmap is see, why are you prioritizing that? Right? Like, why are you doing sprints on this? And maybe that'll actually help. And maybe that'll actually educate the community a little bit more. And that's what I hope, because you get a lot of it's an alpha, right? Like, Morphologist puts a video out yesterday, I believe, and it was, or 2 days ago, and it was about our last Answer the Call podcast and that subject of, well, there are no gameplay loops, nothing matters. Can we just make something matter? And then immediately he gets a ton of comments saying, it's an alpha, why are you bothering? And it's like, this is when you just make things matter. Like, that's the point. And what do you mean? So it's I want the roadmap to help communicate to the community what's going on now and what a priority is and why. And the why should be that end goal that we don't see.
Yeah. And actually what and going further on that, what you actually have is, all right, let's talk about missions.
Yeah.
So your roadmap goal is missions. And then you break down everything underneath that, what you need to make the missions work.
Yep.
For example, push and pull, like they've got over there.
Sure.
Push and pull so you can move cargo around for missions.
Physicalize inventory so you can loot things, right? Like, all that stuff can be there.
Start breaking. And the same thing can be in many different aspects, but you want to know about salvaging. That's kind of one of the things that interests me. Mining doesn't interest me at all.
Sure.
Salvaging does interest me.
Okay.
All right, so have the goal salvaging.
Yeah.
What is the delay with salvaging? Where are the things that need to be done for salvaging? That kind of roadmap, it has a goal and it has parts that go into the goal. The current one that they've got, just random shit all over the place.
It's a wish list.
I don't see. Yeah, it's
the current one, like the new one is
actually.
The new one's more jumbled up. What they're working on now, the agile development, I guess, problem.
Yeah, where you're jumping all over the place without actually having a set goal.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get this working. Right, let's get this working.
Yep.
Let's get this working. But, let's pick a goal and let's get all the things underneath that goal to get that goal done, and then we move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, once you've set all your goals and you say, okay, push and pull needs to work with salvaging, but it also needs to work with cargo. So, you can say, all right, we've got the salvaging part working, but there's, some still little tweaks we need to do to make the cargo part working. And to me, that type of roadmap would actually be one that would communicate the progress of the project. Yeah. This is just random shit that is all over the place that I don't think is going to communicate if the project is actually moving forward or backwards.
Exactly. It's just like, they're working on that. Well, that's cute, I guess. But I think in the end, and that's what CIG just refuses to share, is the...
Basically, I don't think that...
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting some weird problem. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, basically, because I don't think they know what their goals are going to be. I think they're just putting there goes, oh, we're going to need this, we're going to need this, we're going to need this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they've actually really thought ahead how it's going to fit together. Now, people undoubtedly say, of course they've thought ahead in that, but the way they're doing things, I often wonder if they do that, because how many times have they had to redo the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they actually thought ahead what they're going towards, you don't need to redo it that many times. Yes, tweak it, absolutely, because development is constant tweaking of your old stuff and getting it and sort of upgrading it and adding 1 or 2 more features to it and getting it more robust and stuff like that. That is development, the iteration of it. But it seems like they're constantly going back and rewriting a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And redoing things from scratch. Oh, we got to use it for this now. Oh, our last one doesn't work. Let's rewrite it. And that's kind of and that is what I, as a developer, looking in at them and seeing this is extremely frustrating to see it, and then getting people saying, "Oh, what they're doing is fantastic. It's wonderful." No, it's complete mismanagement.
Yeah.
That's kind of, how I'm seeing it.
Yeah,
and that's
so
probably what's made me very salty about it.
Sure, and I guess like your feelings about the mismanagement, and I think a lot of people share those feelings, especially back from like the 2016 days. That will not equate to a roadmap that works, right? And I think that's what it comes down to. But I guess, all right, Talon, I guess we'll let you go unless there's anything else you want to add before I do.
Nope, I think I've pretty much upset enough people.
No, I think this community is more welcoming to ideas outside of the everything is great and butterflies. So I think you're all right, man. Don't worry about it. Talk to you later, Tom. YouTube, a whole nother story. Don't read the comments, all right? Talk to you later, dude. Bye. All right, we'll bring in our last caller, IDD KFA. What's up, dude?
Hello, you've reached Comcast customer service. How can I help you?
just again, just so everybody knows, I ran into a lot of Comcast problems this morning that weren't actually Comcast problems. They were Twitch problems, and I yelled at the Comcast lady for my Twitch problems, and then I had to apologize her live on stream. So that's why everybody's making fun of me. All right? All right. Now back to the roadmap, IDD. What's going on? What do you think?
Well, obviously, I should start by saying this is just a first impression. My opinion might change if I see the real thing.
Okay.
But so far, I must say the new roadmap doesn't change anything for me, because it will not address the main question I had, and that is, what is the status of Squadron 42?
Yeah. And they always say no when questions, right, with everything they do. But isn't a roadmap the answer to when questions? And if you're not going to answer that question, why do one in the first place?
But here's the thing. I don't ask when is Squadron 42, but I ask, how is Squadron 42? Like, how's it going? What is the current status?
But the reason you're asking is when? Right?
Sure.
It's like a secret when question.
No, not really, because I'm not tied to a specific date in that sense. Like, I know things in development might change. You run into issues, you have to iterate some more. But my questions for years now, like Squadron 42 is like dead silent.
Yeah.
On how the game is progressing. And I just have no idea for several years now what the current status of the project is. Yeah. And like I don't care that much about the roadmap, because at the end of the day it's really hit and miss. Sometimes they make dates, sometimes they don't. They add things, they remove things. Like it's completely unreliable to see it as an actual source of information, because things change instantly. like from week to week, maybe.
And that's somewhat normal, right? For things to change from week to week. And I think that's why the current roadmap is so poor at explaining that or visualizing that. And I think the new one does a better job of that, because it really doesn't visualize changes. It just visualizes what people are working on. And that thing that they're working on can have no relation to anything in the current patch or anything like that. I don't know.
Personally, I don't think so, that
Okay.
the roadmap will be a giant improvement. I think, if I remember correctly, the new roadmap is actually somewhat like almost a copy of a roadmap we had before, and they just added like another column for teams.
Okay.
And how many people are working on a specific sprint. Because I think I might be wrong, but I think I've seen a similar roadmap before that looks almost like this one.
Is it on the Squadron 42 side? Is it just
No,
because it's like
I think-
lines? I don't remember
I
the
think it-
original roadmap.
It was like their second roadmap, I think.
Okay.
But the issue for me is I don't think any roadmap can
I'm sharing it on
answer
the
my
screen.
question.
What you're talking about, I think. It was this roadmap, right, with like millions of colors, and the teams are
right.
certain colors.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I remember this now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much the same thing with a little more detail added.
Yeah, and a little bit easier to read. And not an entire
Sure.
year. Yeah.
But yeah, I think no roadmap can answer my question, and they actually need to show me the progress. Like I said, I think it was last week or the week before. What all that I would need is like a webcam behind the shoulder of a dev, just showing me what he's working on, playing in the editor, like following the QA team, so to speak.
Yeah.
It would give me more value than any roadmap out there, because even if they show what they're currently working on, we still don't know what is still missing. We have no idea in what state the current thing is they're working on. So all I get from a roadmap is just more guesswork.
Sure. Yeah.
And,
let me ask you this and try and steer the conversation this way. Why do you think they make a roadmap in the first place? Who's it for? It clearly doesn't help you. It doesn't. Oops, excuse me. It doesn't quite help me. Who's it for? Why are they doing this?
I think it's for I think the few people who believe CIG doesn't work at the game at all.
Yeah.
Which is completely bullshit. Like every sane person knows they are working on the game. It's just not going as fast as everyone wants to like it to be.
Like, is this even for backers? Like, it's very weird. Like the whole thing before of and I think the big and most important thing, I'll bring it up on the screen again if I can do that easily here, is getting to the release view, which is I think the same view that we have currently, and that's the what's in patch 3 whatever, right? Like that's what we're trying to figure out is well, what's going to be in patch 3.12 when we have this roadmap? Well, they never clicked on release view, so we don't know what's there yet. So, like for me personally, the end goal of a roadmap that from them would just be a list of features of what's in the patch and what they're doing to get there.
I mean,
That's what I'm
expect
just saying that's what I use the roadmap for. Do I expect what I've said the entire show of I would like to see, the word salvaging on a roadmap, the word server meshing on a roadmap, and a line that leads to them and the steps it takes to get there? Yes. But I just don't know if I'll ever see that.
I agree. It would be great to see dependencies.
Yeah.
Like, so you can make better assumptions.
Sure.
And that's all what I use the roadmap for is making the best assumptions that I can.
Yeah. And you can add to those dependencies as you learn that you need them. Like, what would be great if from this roadmap we scroll down and we see the network team. And you go down the network team and you see a sprint towards server meshing. And then, whoops, we need to add 10 more tasks to that. Okay. Like, I feel like that would be way less bad. Even though you're sharing bad news, you're actually sharing the bad news and not hiding it.
That kind of ties into your question, like sharing bad news.
Yeah.
Because I think the roadmap is I don't know if it's exactly 50-50, but I think one part they really want to tell us what they are currently working on, but I can't escape the feeling that the other half is pure marketing. It's like that a visual carrot for us.
Yeah.
It's like, hey guys, this is what we're working on. This is what we intend to do next. Hang tight, it's coming.
Yep.
Sometime.
Like every now and again, if they just show a sprint towards server meshing, everybody would be calm. Oh, see, they're working on it. But what if it was like literally the janitor accidentally spilled coffee on the keyboard and somebody pressed a few keys, and then that sprint was just the developer fixing those few key presses, Like, it could be, I don't know. Just like using like a stupid example for some comedic breakup here. But it just comes down to that. Like, I just don't know. I don't know how this solves any of the problems of the, I think people really just need to know, for me, when, and I think also the same way as you say, like, kind of how are we going to get there? Because a lot of people don't believe the project's possible, so how do we get there? And I think they've explained it a lot, but it would be really nice to have it in a roadmap that has everything there, and you can go and look, and you can see just how difficult the project is, and how ambitious it is, and how long it's going to take, and in general, not an actual timeline of how long it's going to take, but hey, it's going to take a long time. So when you go to look at the game, or when you first buy the game, you go, well, it sucks now, but it's going to be better later.
I think I said this before. I still think they need to heavily compress what they are doing right now, because and I know you have a different opinion on that. Because I think, like, you say, okay, stop improving on mining. Let's do the next profession, and let's keep it moving. Let's add more to the game. And I still think if you do it that way and you don't compress what you're doing right now,
can you define
like
compress?
Compress in terms of what you're actually adding to the game.
Like add less than what is generally expected by the community?
The example I would like to make, like, let's say,
I think they should just close the studio then.
I don't think they need to. They just need to heavily compress what they are working on and make that playable in a really good state. Because let me make this example. Like, let's say they add salvaging next, tier 0. Then they refueling, tier 0. What I think is going to happen is, like, in 6 years, you have like 5 more professions, but you still have 30K issues. This is not working. This is broken. And 6 years from now, you might not have all the professions in, maybe a few left, but no profession is really enjoyable. And that's why I think they need to compress the development. Like break it down to everything you need for Squadron 42, which is flight combat, affairs combat, and refine cargo hauling and mining. This is your core game. Make that playable, make that enjoyable, and after that, add more professions on a stable, enjoyable game. Because I don't see, if you add more and more professions, you're getting nowhere slowly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I also have to add real quick, and I think I'm very likely in the minority because of my trust issues towards the management.
Sure.
Sure. And my issue is, I believe, or let's say it like this. I believe only things they put out that I actually have on my SSD. They can tell me anything. They can show me anything on a roadmap. CitizenCon is completely garbage to me because CitizenCon is actually the worst thing to show the actual game. Let's go back. I think you and I agree that Gamescom 2016 2.0 was the best show they ever did. And I think it's because I think a couple of weeks later, you had exactly in your hands what they showed at the event. And now, when you look further, the more closer we get to the current timeline, the more they altered things to make it look like what they intend it to look like, but it's not actually what they have right now. So it's like an E3 trailer from any other game,
Yeah.
and 1 year later you meme about it because of all the things they took out, the graphics went down, etc., etc.
Sure.
And that's my trust issue. That's why I still need to see things. Like, show me you actually playing it live. It's not like I mean, we watched No Man's Sky a couple of days ago, right? And you remember the segment when they said, "Oh, Sean Murray, why did you choose this planet all the time?" And it's because it's the planet they completely manufactured for press.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're getting. And 1 year later, we might get what we have seen.
Okay. I think that's fair. And it's, but the thing is what they're manufacturing in the game now has nothing to do with press anymore. Like, okay, here's the difference between now and back then. Remember 2016? It was procedural planets. It was the, oh, wow. Let's manufacture these procedural planets to wow people and bring them into the game and excite them. Now, it's about the reason that we're sitting here and doing a lot of kind of bitching and complaining without lack of better words is the fact that, I'm sorry, Twitch chat's just being ridiculous and distracting. I think what's happening now and why we're kind of in this weird like funk where a lot of the community is just like, ugh, I'm over it, is the fact that they have shifted away from what is better for marketing and what is better for visually showing the game and are now focused on things that are less that, and everything looks less exciting. Things are less exciting to be a part of.
I think that's why the roadmap has to compensate for it. And every
Agreed.
show they do,
Yeah.
event they do, that has to compensate for the fact that what they are showing or what their intent for
what
the
they're
future
doing has a purpose. What is that purpose? Right?
well, the purpose is to bridge the time. Like I still think they can do exactly what they want to do. Like they are too talented to not achieve that. But they need to bridge the time from showing us, like, hey guys, hang in there, we get Theaters of War, it will be amazing. And now you have to stretch like all the filler episodes from all the bad movie TV series, right?
Yeah.
And they have to stretch it so far until we finally get it.
I think here's the best way to explain it. I think what you're saying is I should be able to look at the roadmap and already know what the ISC topics are going to be in advance. Because I know that I would have known that, okay, Advanced Throw, they're going to do something like that for Theaters of War because they just started working on it. And so on, and for Squadron 42, obviously. But that's the example because it was the most recent ISC, right? Is stuff like that. Like, it should show, okay, we are working on this for this. I think that's the most important thing, is what are you working on this for? God, I can't stop with I'm closing Twitch chat. That was the most...
Well done, boys.
I usually don't
Keep
look
going.
at chat, but they're so distracting right now. Yeah, so...
Cannot look at chat, but chat looks at you.
Yeah, it certainly looks at me. They're just posting, like, big images of Chris Roberts right now, and I can't deal with it. So yeah, anyway, now that they're closed, I mean, I think that they need to show us what they're working on now and what that work is really going towards. And I think that's what's really missing from the roadmap is the goals. And I mean, I think that's pretty much been the theme of the show today, is the goals. And the lack thereof.
I can see that people want actual goals and want to see the end. Where is everything leading to? Like,
Sure.
why you do this, what it is needed for. I personally, I actually, it's kind of strange now thinking about it, but I don't really need that. I just want the current status. And like I said in the beginning, I don't think I get that from the current roadmap.
Yeah, I agree. All right, IDD, I'll let you go. We had another caller come in. I'm just gonna let him know that it's time.
Yeah, sure.
Time to go. Because I didn't get to communicate that I had closed the calls because I didn't have a mod there to communicate it to. But yeah, so thank you for your call, man. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.
Don't hesitate to call Comcast customer service again.
Goodbye.
Have a good one.
All right, I'll bring Execute in. Hey, Execute, what's up, man? I was gonna let you know that I was gonna not bring you in, but yeah, I'll bring you in and we'll make sure, because I didn't communicate that there was no call. So what's up, dude?
I'm good, man. If you need to go, that's fine. But hang on.
Yep.
I was muting stream. My bad.
No worries.
Do you need to go?
Sort of, but not really. So no, I'm good.
I'll try and make it quick.
You know
then.
what? I'm good. We'll turn our hour show into close to 2 hours. It's fine. Because
sorry, man. I've been taking notes. I've been listening the whole time, so I have.
No, don't think I'm blaming you. I actually don't really need to go, so I'm actually okay. Yeah. I was thinking I did, and then I looked at the time, and time is fine. So feel free.
Okay, so I guess the overall thing or theme that I kind of felt that was coming through from most callers was frustration, and I think
Sure.
with you know, last time you and I talked, the lack of communication and the 2020 pandemic is a cooking pot. We've all got a lot more free time on our hands,
Sure.
and it has been a significant wait for this game.
Yep.
To me, that is really what's really frustrating a lot of people. Like, I'm feeling it. I don't know if you're feeling it, but everyone seems really on a knife's edge, because it's also that time before CitizenCon. Now, I know they say they're not doing CitizenCon, but
I'm in this weird place where I don't feel any frustrations at all. I do.
You're
I
a
guess
Zen master, sir.
No, just maybe I've kind of this year looked at the roadmap and just kind of went, I don't care about any of this. Nothing I care,
agreed.
right? Like, nothing that I care about is something that they're working on right now. And
Same shit they've been doing for the last couple of years, like a new ship, a new landing zone,
sure,
small
but
little tech items.
I think like some of the things that they've been gradually working on throughout the years has been stuff I cared about. This year, it's
True.
a lot of those little things to tie in. It's a lot of what Aaron, I guess, said in the beginning of the year is you're going to get a lot of quality of life this year. So it's a lot of like tying up loose ends for things, and I don't want to say I don't care about those, but they're nothing that blows my mind and really excites me. So I'm kind of just like whatever.
It kind of shows me that they're starting to do the crunch like before Squadron 4, they're wrapping up the beta type of stuff. So they're trying to get all those features in. I think it's also shows that they've got less concept ships than they've ever had before.
Yep.
Because they're knuckling down and doing more work, but they're not communicating that. And it's like you said, like I've wrote down here what you said about Xylo and Brian Chambers. That's a lack of communication again. And I've seen it time and time again.
To each other.
But it is to each other and it is to us. They've shown that they are not good communicators across the board is the point I'm trying to make.
Sure.
It's not just one area, it's all areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've kind of mentioned the iceberg of development. So we all know they're really working on Squadron 42 and not Star. That's what you said in one of your other shows. We're paying for Star Citizen, and we're getting Squadron 42. So yeah, it is 100% that. And one thing I did want to bring up though is, and I'll start it with a question: is where is the seat of Squadron 42, as in development house-wise? For you, who is the studio that is pushing that?
Oh, it's obviously in Europe. It's in the UK.
Yep, exactly. So I would expect that Chris Roberts, when he goes back to Manchester, that is a clearly big sign. That's if we know about it. A clearly big sign that we're getting to that beta point, or he's there to polish it off.
But I thought Chris Roberts isn't working there anymore or doing anything.
But he's come and been there before, has he not?
No, I'm making the joke of like people saying that Chris doesn't,
Yeah, sorry.
No,
sorry, I
okay.
didn't pick up on that, my bad.
It's all right.
So yeah, I think that would be a telltale sign. So that is what I am looking for, and I've been looking for it almost all year long. So if we get word that he has gone to Manchester in any shape or form, or someone sees him leaving his house and going to the airport, or whatever we find, I think that'll be a really good sign that Squadron 42 is starting to wrap up.
I think it would be the opposite. If he needs to go there, then he needs to go there to maybe whip it into shape a little bit.
Oh no!
I look at it the other way, but yeah.
He is the head of the project, and this is just coming from my development background. He would be there to wrap shit up. And if it's the head place for Squadron 42, that's where he's going to be. He's not going to do, like, think about all the meetings they have at the start of the year where they fly everyone into LA and they do all that planning and stuff. If they're wrapping shit up at the end, he's going to be, he just has to be there. It's not something you can do over Skype or whatever. For me, that's a really, I think it'll be a really telltale sign. But hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just thought I'd bring it to your attention in case it does happen.
Sure.
And that's kind of everything I kind of wrote down. I think it's just I don't know if did you catch Astropub last week?
No, I didn't catch it.
I had a massive rant. I had a massive rant.
Well, can we? But what is this? Are we talking about the roadmap?
Yes. It's in regards to I was venting all my frustration, right? And I was really tired. And Paul asked me to come on because he'd had someone drop out. And I don't normally go off on rants. Like, in fact, I've never done one on camera. And I did 2 on one episode, and they were both about just my frustration with this game, in the state that it's in and how long it's taken and stuff like that. So, I'm at that level where I feel that the rest of the community is at that same point too. And I'm hearing it. Like, ever since I kind of filmed that rant, I've got heaps of comments coming back at me saying, oh, I feel you, blah, blah, blah. So I can tell there are other people feeling the same way. So it's just that time of year before CitizenCon where there's a real lack of news. It's like a cooking pot. Like, it's got 3 or 4 factors all in there, and you've just got to, it's hard. Bite the bullet and wait, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we just need to wait for these things to come online. And the problem is how is the roadmap communicating that to us? And from what we see, is it doing a good enough job?
Well, I think that's kind of why they're trying to make the new one, because they know the old one's not sufficient.
Yeah, but from what you see, is it better or is it worse? I mean, that's the real kind of question here, and everybody keeps going off on these other tangents.
Okay. Well, from my point of view, they are basically trying to get it down to a team level. So that actually gives you a lot more detail than you would get as in just like a percentage bar, or they're just working on this ship. So you're going to actually be able to see how far each team is progressing. And I think you're going to get a lot more detail than we've ever got before.
Yeah.
But my follow-up to that is, how often is it going to be updated? And we know, like with this roadmap, was not actually like a live thing that was updated. It was manually updated by someone. So if that's not kept up, it could fall back into the same problem as this one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wait and see again.
If it's just another thing where you need somebody to actively be doing this, like remember Roadmap Roundup was going to be this big thing, and then it started turning into one, like literally half of a sentence per week.
Yep.
I don't see this doing anything other than that in the near future. You know, it'll be very nice at the start, and then it'll slowly fall off because they need to make a game and they need to stop communicating all this dumb shit to us that doesn't really matter, other than make the damn game, you know? So,
well, here's a real simple one.
Yeah, if I had my way, it would be close all the doors. I don't want to see any videos on your YouTube channel. I don't want you posting on Spectrum. You know, if I had my way, that's how it would be. I don't think open development is a very successful way of doing things. Because at this point, you got the money. You can communicate via your marketing material if you want, and show off like the new great ship or whatever every now and again. But as far as, you know, just exactly, I mean, just No Man's Sky it. Just shut the doors and make your stuff better. I can't believe we would want to apply the way No Man's Sky did things to this game, but that is the point at which we are at.
No, I can agree. In a lot of hindsight, if it hadn't been as open in the beginning and now it's a lot more closed and they just closed the doors, we could have kind of forgotten about it and time would have passed more quickly. But when you're so invested and you're looking at it almost every day, it just drags and drags and drags.
Yep.
One little thing I'll leave you with before I head off, though, as another communication point is, where is Pillow Talk or Pillow Talk?
I think Pillar Talk I think that's the only thing that's been affected by COVID. Because you can't get the directors in the same room.
You can do 4 people on Skype.
I think they should, but it's not. It doesn't look good enough, and it will be all people talking over each other and weird shit. I just... That's one of the things that I think will come back when people are allowed to group up together.
Yeah,
I think that is the only thing that COVID really did affect on their end.
Yeah. All right then, Mike, I'll let you go and let you do whatever you're going to do. Thanks very much.
All right, man. Yep. Have a good one, dude. Thanks for your comments, and I appreciate them.
See you next time. Bye.
Later. Everyone always sounds so sad when they're getting off the calls. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Twitch chat, stop being stupid today. I apologize for anybody who had to deal with them being dumb. If you're watching on YouTube, I apologize for any of the distractions and weird shit that went on, and all the typing that I had to do to try and stop what was happening. But yeah, in general, I think this was a cool episode, and in general, I think it just shows that a lot of the community is at least a little bit frustrated by where we are and the type of things that we feel like we need communicated, right? We need communication on, you know, where things are at, where they're going, and unfortunately when we're gonna get there. In some ways, you know, how we're gonna get there is more important. And I think that, you know, for me, I wanted to know when, but I like what you know, for example, IDD said is, I think a better way of doing it is showing how. And yeah, I think that's a good way of going about it. And for me, I just want the goal at the end. If I was going to change anything, I'd like to see a goal, and I think that would be really good. So guys, I appreciate you watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. all that stuff in the future. And if you do want to join us anytime, we do start Answer the Call Sundays, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Use time and date converter, figure out when that time is for you, and feel free to join our Discord. All the links will be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye, everyone.